Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. We continue with the State of the Nation. In case you're just joining us, we are discussing issues that are just happening in our country politically and even on matters that concern Kenyans. And of course, now we shift gears into the political terrain. There's a lot that has raised political eyebrows, and we will be dissecting what is happening politically in our country this morning. I want us to start in the Nyanza region, a tour by President William Ruto. He was in Kondele, Kisumu, an area that is considered a very pivotal place when it comes to the politics of the Nyanza region. And this is what happened, and we will be discussing what this means as we discuss it with my panel. Let's look at how the president was received and what he said in Kisumu.
This is Kondele, at the heart of Kisumu County, a politically active suburb, always one of the political hotspots that is used to gauge the country's political tone.
Kisumu hoye! Kondele hoye! Amoso ujadurua! Jadurua untie!
President William Ruto was well received here in the lakeside city, emboldening his new bromance with the Orange Party. President Ruto's arrival in Kisumu triggering a rupture of sorts in the ODM bedrock that chanted pro-Ruto slogans, giving the president embers of hope given the growing chasm between him and the Mount Kenya region that strongly backed his ascension to the throne. Ruto piled on the charm here.
Mimi nilisimama hapa Kondele, nikasema siku moja nilisaidia Agwambo, na safari hii yeye amerudisha mkono, amenisaidia mimi. Mimi nawauliza, iko makosa hapo?
And at the same time, threw barbs at his estranged former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, who is accused of tribal politics and pushing regional interests. Gachagua at the weekend received a heroic welcome at Uhuru Stadium in Murang'a during a musical event. A crowd gathered chanting "Ruto must go" in the former deputy president's presence. Ruto in Kisumu did not turn the other cheek.
Ibada ya ukabila na chuki na migawanyiko waende wapi? Waende wapi? Waende wapi? Watembee wapi? Wataenda nyumbani. Naenda kumuombea ili awe kiongozi wa Afrika. Nikiongea na nyinyi saa hizi, juzi alikuwa kule Ivory Coast, jana amekuwa kule Senegal, leo ako kule Nigeria akitafuta kura ya kuwa kiongozi wa bara la Afrika.
The rousing welcome President Ruto received in Kisumu is bound to raise political eyebrows with emerging political realignments ahead of the 2027 presidential contest. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
My colleague there, Leto, says ahead of the 2027 elections, and I'm here reminding myself and confirming whether we are not in 2026 or 2027, going by the pictures that we are seeing right now, you'd expect that the political temperatures would rise around that time. But looks like we are already, in a very heated season of politics. Senator Manzo, I don't know why I'm keen and curious to hear your thoughts first on how President William Ruto was received in Kisumu County. What are your quick thoughts about that style of welcome?
First of all, the senator for Kisumu was seen mobilizing these crowds, dishing money out for those who will come to the meeting. And those, of course, who are not given money were shouting, "Ruto must go" in the same meeting. That money would have been used to build roads in Syokimau and in Kisumu, but it was being used in politics. The money Ruto has used to go to Kisumu, if he really wants to help Raila, he should have been himself in West Africa. Because you see, this campaign for Raila to go to African Union is the voters are presidents. And only President Ruto, protocolly, can really approach other presidents of Africa to campaign for Raila. So he sends Raila on a journey where he's going to meet foreign ministers and prime ministers without meeting presidents, wasted time and money there. Instead of Ruto himself going to campaign for Raila Odinga, he goes to Kisumu thinking he'll get the votes of Kisumu. I want to assure him that the vote of ODM is not assured to Raila Odinga, to Ruto. And right now...
How do you know, Senator, you're not in ODM, you're not a resident of Kisumu?
No, we are in Azimio in ODM, and I talk to all the ODM people.
Do we have Azimio?
I talk to ODM people every day.
Is the Azimio outfit still intact? That's a matter that... It
is only Mother Karua has left. You can only wind up a coalition when only one party. I'm speaking, with a lot of authority.
No, are you speaking as Azimio?
Yes, as Azimio, and I interact with a lot of Azimio members, including members of ODM. So the only way, in fact, right now, Ruto's government is hanging on Raila's lips. It is Raila who is in charge of this country right now, politically. And therefore, if I were Ruto, I will not go and waste all my time in Kondele. I'll make sure, for sure, Raila Odinga goes to African Union. And if he fails to go to African Union, we will put the blame squarely on William Samoei Ruto.
Allow me, Acheng, to just say something. Listening to my colleague, Senator Manzo, I dare say he's behaving like a jilted lover. Number one, he's very bitter that Azimio no longer exists. And if it exists, it's on paper. And he knows that. Number two is his concern about the president's visit to Nyanza in the context of the ongoing campaigns for Baba to join to be the AU lead. And he knows that these campaigns, it's only that Manzo is conveniently behaving for the moment. He's a seasoned politician. He has been in these corridors for long. He knows that this particular campaign, remember the president has launched. The other day, Raila Odinga was in West Africa region. And by the way, among the people who actually went around campaign for him was Bomet former Senator, Professor Dr. Langat, whom I took over from. And we spoke yesterday and he was telling me the extent of the engagement and the relationship that they have built with the West African region in terms of this campaign does not necessarily require the president. And the president does not need to go to each and every country for purposes of this campaign. He's launched it, he knows the investment that has been put in it, and we are all looking forward to next year when Raila will be elected as the AU. And so if only we were to be as objective as we would be as leaders, then part of the comments that we'll be making reference to with regards to the campaign for Baba would be completely off the context of the political competition that we locally have. Number two is, of course, the comments which I really needed to say. In every political session, every political meeting, mobilization must be done. He knows that. You cannot wake up in the morning and say...
State money? Is it state resources?
I've just said mobilization. Mobilization is telling the people that I will be coming over tomorrow. Whenever I want to have a meeting in Shongiroi, in my county Bomet, which Shongiroi is in Chepalungu constituency, I can't just wake up in the morning and go. I must notify the people, the residents whom I represent, that I will be in Tebunya clinic or in dispensary to conduct my oversight role tomorrow. So that, number one, the residents get to know I'm coming. Number two, I get to notify them of what I'm going to be doing so that if there are questions, if there are issues that they need to raise, they do so. And for purposes even of coordinating with the national government administration, the chief, the assistant chief, the village managers, these are the people who are in almost all situations allowed to speak on behalf of the people. So part of what we experience in the recordings that we've seen in Kisumu is the mobilization that was done by the leaders of Kisumu to allow the president to speak to them.
Sige, can we say that Ruto has managed to warm the hearts of the residents of Kisumu, or it was an orchestrated, plan like Dan Manzo is, alluding to?
Thank you.
That I think is the issue. The issue of mobilization, that's a given, but
yes.
The issue of whether they are doing it, genuinely, or they are doing it because there is something that has been done for them to do that, is, I think that's where the bone of contention is. So what is your assessment of?
Thank you.
Of
in the course of the campaigns by Kenya Kwanza government, one of the rallying calls was, we want a united Kenya. That has been the mantra of the president's speech every other time he goes out to speak to Kenyans. In his State of the Nation address, paragraph 79 and 74, the president spoke about the need to make sure we expand and bind the broad-based government by coming together as Kenyans so that we build this country called Kenya. And I'd picked a few of the bites that he made. He said we need to have our collective energy, goodwill of all, and political as well as the religious communities coming together to build a national unity which is inclusive of every Kenyan. That is what has warmed the people of Luo Nyanza
as
well as Kenyans across the board, as well as Kenyans across the board, because as we speak right now, nobody, no region in Kenya is not involved in this government.
Okay.
Yes. It is impossible to have each and every village represented, but when you look at the cabinet, when you look at the principal secretaries, when you look at the rest of high-level government offices, the region and Kenya as a whole is represented. That is basically what has even drawn closer the people of Luo Nyanza, who was seen, and that is actually the feeling that is very bitter with my friend Senator Manzo, because when you look at what's happening,
what
is happening in Senate, it is negative about this inclusivity and the broad-based government. The rest of us are like, we're happy as Kenyans. Let us work together, unite Kenya, build Kenya.
All right, we will talk about the broad-based government and whether that was the measure that was needed. But Diana, before we get there, I want to hear your thoughts on what the president said when he said that I helped Agwambo, actually using, the name that I think just sort of to show how close or connected they now are. I helped Agwambo, and now is it wrong, asking the resident, this culture of political favors? I just want to hear your thoughts on that statement.
The political culture of our politicians is what it is. They look out for each other, not necessarily for the citizen. You will remember ODM in 2007, the president was working very closely with Right Honorable Prime Minister then, who was a presidential candidate. And he also tells us that clearly it is the Right Honorable Raila who steered a citizen coup when we raised demands against the government to create this broad-based government. The broad-based government is therefore for politicians. Is this interest, or is what is happening based on what Senator Sigei has said? Everybody is in government. No.
He says it was to unite Kenyans, and that
Kenya
is what
is
the
not
president
united.
said. It is not?
Yes. The bulk of the political dynasties are united again. Kenyans, we are united against corruption. We are united against theft. We are united against high taxation. We are united, even now our churches. I'm about to start going back to church. I am a Catholic. Because
what are you saying? You're not going to
like
church, Diana.
The church has regained
they have regained your trust.
Yes, they have regained their conscience so we can re-engage. But the political class, they are pursuing a very different agenda. And like Senator Manzo has asked, Raila Odinga is a statesman. It is okay for Kenya to want to pursue the leadership of the African Union. But did we have an analysis to say, now let us direct state resources, or we'll be shocked with another Haiti statement? That there were no doctors in hospitals because we had to get into AU leadership. How does that build? You know, that particular discussion ought to have been owned, and that way, every time we are holding to account the Cabinet Secretary Foreign Affairs and the PS Foreign Affairs to account for the campaign of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. We have fronted another candidate before. We were embarrassed in an expose, because we must also look out for national interest. Our athletes work very hard. One of our editors has just been appointed globally. So we must, part of building national unity is protecting.
It's not broad-based government.
No, it's protecting the Kenyan brand from global embarrassment, and therefore being very, very decisive. To be honest, what is happening in Kisumu is the president trying to build a political base. Whether he's doing that, only time will tell. This is too early. We are not casting any ballot. The president and Azimio have refused to constitute an IEBC. For those of us who are very disgruntled,
allow me to correct.
Please allow me to correct. I have very many things to correct, but allow me to finish. The Kenya Kwanza and Azimio have refused to constitute an IEBC.
I don't want to let that go.
2.5 years.
I don't want to let that go, because that is misinforming Kenya.
But allow her finish a line of thought.
There have been orders. Please, you have from where I sit,
yes.
Senator Sigei, you have misinformed us.
Nyanza is the one who is in court. Who is actually stopping the
Why don't you allow her to finish a line of thought, and then you can.
All right, Dana, conclude. But you'll allow me to respond.
Luckily, we are a democracy, and so we have no IEBC.
Yeah.
For close, now we are moving into the third year without an IEBC. We therefore cannot prepare for the next election. Neither can we recall members of parliament who represent us when they do not represent us the way we want. Additionally, we cannot even initiate our own referendum questions on how we are governed based on Article 1. That's extremely problematic. So what is happening in Kisumu is unfortunate. This is not, the president is telling us it is time to work. Is that the work that we want? Shouldn't we be analyzing other things as opposed to all this? And you see, ODM is very strategic. They make it clear it is ODM receiving the president, not the people of Kisumu. That is what is covered by and large. So this is purely political consensus, not national or people-driven consensus.
All right, Sigei, how is Diana misinforming?
Yes, I wanted to say, I am the chairperson of Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee of the Senate. I fully got involved in the amendment to the IEBC Act, together with my colleague, Senator Manzo. We passed it, and we provided for establishment or constitution of the IEBC. Remember, there was then an existing panel. After the amendment of the Act was signed into law by the President, it is the Wiper Party that went to court to stop, because they had their candidate, the panel, from sitting. On 11th of September 2024, the court made a determination giving Wiper 48 hours to, not Wiper, sorry, Azimio 48 hours to present their representative to the panel. The fight is by Wiper that is keen on having their preferred.
That's another misinformation.
Is
so
Wiper,
it is not Kenya Kwanza, it is not Azimio or ODM, it is Wiper that is derailing the process. And I wanted to correct Diana's impression that we have derailed the process.
Mheshimiwa Manzo, this delay of the constitution.
Yeah, we talk about the delay.
Is it because of Wiper?
No. What has happened is the matter with Wiper was settled.
Seems like we'll get the answer today, because even the church is asking, why don't we have an IEBC till today? So is it wiper?
No. I want to say another court case has been filed in Kiambu, instigated by Kenya Kwanza, to delay the matter further. Wiper has already settled, the previous matter, and now it is Kenya Kwanza which has gone to court. Maybe the guy is not aware of this new matter. I am aware of the
Kiambu matter because we were saying in the Kiambu matter the reason as to why this delay is because of the court case in the course of the Wiper matter. But it's true.
It's a new matter filed by Kenya Kwanza.
So it's no longer Wiper.
It's no longer Wiper now, it's Kenya Kwanza. And let me tell you, we need...
It's Azimio and Kenya Kwanza.
It is.
And we want to say that...
the Azimio candidate was there, Kenya Kwanza candidate was there. We didn't have any dispute. The dispute came in when Wiper insisted that they needed to have Ambassador Kokimuli, who is a close ally to Mr. Mushoka, by the way. And that was the whole basis of the delay. We've wasted almost 6 months over that
anyway, the matter was settled, and there's a new matter filed by Kenya Kwanza.
So it's not on your...
No, it's no longer, the ball is no longer on our side. And most important, we have members of parliament who have been lost through death, and also election petitions, and the appointment to cabinet, and these seats are vacant. And therefore, those constituencies are not represented. And we need IEBC yesterday. Yeah. We cannot recall the MPs. And there are so many things that we cannot conduct elections for the wards. And therefore, but we can conveniently avoid the IEBC, put Kidiki as a deputy president. And therefore, it is important that IEBC is put into place as soon as possible.
Yesterday. Mheshimiwa Manzo, there's been talk about what's happening in Kisumu. I just want to take you back there. Can we afford to underestimate the brewing bromance between President William Ruto and ODM? Let me say ODM, not Raila Odinga, because Diana says it's ODM.
The position of ODM right
Looking
now,
at the political dynamics, can we ignore
the position of ODM right now is very clear that they're in broad-based government, but they are in opposition. And yesterday when we were debating, the day before yesterday when I debated the president's speech, the Secretary General, Honorable Sifuna, Senator for Nairobi, opposed the president's speech with a lot of solid points. And he's the Secretary General of ODM. And then the next day, Raila Odinga visits Kisumu. William Ruto visits Kisumu, and he's free to go to any part of the country. And I can assure you, the contradiction is that he himself, he's talking about Raila being in West Africa. Really, where I want to challenge the president, if they really want Raila Odinga to go to African Union, and I want him to go to African Union, but I'm not seeing enough effort from William Ruto. I'm just seeing jokes, like going to where all the money is in Kisumu instead of flying and meeting presidents. I want to challenge him on Jamhuri Day to invite 35 presidents of Africa here to celebrate independence with us and seal the deal of Raila Odinga going to African Union.
He said that race is on course, but the very latest was even the Mauritius Prime Minister, opting out of the race in favor of Raila Odinga, and he spoke very positively about how this is going to go. I don't know.
But does that bind the president of that country? The vote is secret ballot. That does not bind the president of that particular country. He should be telling us, the president, we should be seeing a statement of a president of Mauritius supporting Kenya. That is not there.
I don't know what Senator Manzo would desire, especially being a practicing politician. When you go out and campaign, you don't tell the person who is clubbing for you and who is shouting on top of their voices that Leo, Senator Tuni Manzo. You can't ask them, give me proof that you will vote for me. It can't happen. What we are doing and what he knows in the course of any campaign is to convince there would be voters, there would be supporters that, you know what, I've got a better agenda, I've got a better opportunity, and I'm asking for your support. It's like, I would call courting. You court someone so that by the time we are getting to the ballot, that person has believed in you, has believed in your ideals, has believed in your candidature, and that is exactly what we are doing. I like what he said, and I agree with him that for purposes of consolidating the votes that we are hunting for Baba, it would be a very good idea during our national holiday to invite as many presidents as we can to come and tell them why we need their support to have Raila. But you know, now this is something that is beyond me and Diana and Manzo. But it's an advice which, as the president said in his State of the Nation address, we need to listen. And I'm sure he's listening. If he's not listening, his office is listening. And that advice by Manzo is a good one. If it's possible, then that's it. If it is going out, definitely, it's part of the campaigns.
What bearing, and any of you can jump on this, what bearing will his getting the AUC chairmanship position have on the local politics?
As a matter of fact, number one, as Kenya, we'll be proud to have Baba in AU. That is leadership in the global region, that is the Africa region. Number two, for me as a Kenya Kwanza legislator, a serious supporter of President William Ruto's government and forward-looking, though we are still in mid-term, or we're just getting into the mid-term of his election cycle. It is going to have a bearing in the sense that having Raila in AU will bind more the broad-based government, because as a matter of fact, the leadership of ODM that is in government came in to support what exactly the president said. Having him out there will also give us additional support base. And, well, Raila is a politician just like me and Manzo. He has an interest beyond now. He's forward-looking. And if he is in AU, the rest of us young leaders will have opportunities to also then get to the positions that Raila...
Diana, do you see it that way?
I think
the way the gains, yeah? And does it have anything to do with 2027?
He exits the national political space and he goes to steer the continent. There will be reconfiguration. He's definitely currently the most senior politician in this country. So that is a space that will need to be quickly filled. Who benefits? Who ultimately would benefit within the political class? Within the emerging political class, then maybe somebody else could emerge. But ultimately, the president benefits significantly from having his biggest and strongest rival exit the space and go to the African Union, yes. So it may be a good way of retiring him from national politics. Is that in the best interest
Your
of the
choice
nation?
of words.
I don't know.
Manzo, how do you see it?
You heard even when Raila Odinga was away, the president was invoking his name. And Raila Odinga is an enigma of politics. I can assure you he is free. And we have discussed this as Azimio. And the last time we were at Job, before this campaign started, and before Raila now left ODM to others, to Anyang' Nyong'o and others, to manage it. First of all, ODM is a very big party and a strong party. What I hear from a lot of ODM members is that Raila Odinga is free to serve as the African Union up to 2027, then resigns and comes to vie. They want him to run for president. So there may be not so much benefit of William Ruto from making efforts to exit Raila. He will be present and he will be back and he will run for president.
All right. Manzo, you've kept referring to Azimio. And I'm looking at a story on the front page of the Daily Nation, and we just want to dissect this matter and settle it. Do we still have Azimio? End of Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya. They've checked, that we know the history of how this was formed, and in the run-up to the 2022 presidential election. What is happening today, the very latest, is that the presidential running mate 2022 of Azimio, Martha Karua, is planning to lead her NARC Kenya Party National Delegates Convention to formally withdraw from the opposition coalition, signaling the impending collapse of the outfit and affiliate parties plot to exit. Affiliate parties here include your party as well. And we had, was it over the weekend, a lot of talk during a church service right here in Nairobi in Embakasi that hinted to a possibility of forming another political outfit that, would be very strong. We had, that would reach out to the likes of former CS Fred Matiang'i, Natembea George also to be part of that political outfit. There seems to be, I don't know whether there seems to be a plot for your party to exit, Azimio as well and form another political coalition, or you're still strongly, solidly grounded within Azimio. Let's settle.
Well, right now there are two registered coalitions in the country. One of the coalitions is Kenya Kwanza under IEBC, and also Azimio. Now, the only way Azimio will come to an end is if only one party is left in Azimio. If the rest of the parties leave, Martha Karua has given the notice to leave. ODM has said, although we are in the broad-based, sometimes called broad-based government, although we are there, we are still in Azimio. We are Azimio. This is ODM and many other parties which form. Remember, the Azimio coalition has more than 22 parties. And all these parties, only Martha Karua has pulled out. And Martha Karua, even after pulling out, she said the team in Azimio are still like-minded to her. She has not pulled out to join government. She has pulled out to reorganize her political party, and she's free to do so.
But pulling out is pulling out.
Every other party is free to pull out. But the day there will remain one party, the now registrar of political parties can now say Azimio is dead or there is end of Azimio. And therefore I'm saying Azimio is still intact as a registered coalition in this country. And it will stay so up to when the last party leaves. But all of us are looking at the future. We want to build a bigger coalition. We could rebrand. We could give it another name. We'll invite more partners. And I am very sure Kenyans are with us.
So we, in this context, is it Azimio or Wiper?
I'm talking of Azimio. It's still there. Wiper is part of the Azimio coalition. That's why even the leadership in the houses is configured under Azimio and under Kenya Kwanza. When ODM sent a few people to assist Kenya Kwanza, the house structure remained. Because Azimio has not been dissolved. But had we dissolved Azimio, or had parties left and left Wiper alone or Wiper with other parties, we still form minority in the House. But that did not happen. One foot of ODM is in government and the other foot is in Azimio.
So Wiper and the likes of DAP-K, they are in Azimio?
They're in Azimio. They're in Azimio to stay. DAP, Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, Honorable Kioni of Jubilee. And remember, the convener of Azimio is President Uhuru Kenyatta. He has not spoken.
Allow me, Acheng, to say something. Senator Manzo is speaking what we call in law, he's approbating and yes, he's approbates and reprobates. He is on the one hand saying Azimio is alive and kicking. On the other hand, he's saying Azimio is dead. He is just resonating very well with what his party leader said. And I was just reading the excerpt from what he said. He actually was telling the media, I want to urge the media not to bury Azimio before it's actually dead. So he's making reference to a burial and actual death. He goes ahead to say, as my camp, they have ditched using Azimio name in the first couple of weeks. Instead, they have used what they call People's Loyal Opposition. So it then tells us the actual status of Azimio. And I agree with Manzo that in law it is still existing. But you see, this is politics. A political outfit is, for purposes of convenience, a coalition when it's supposed to be. One of the reasons, for instance, why Azimio is still is not actually dead but dead is what Manzo said. One leg is on this side, the other leg is on this side. And one of the things I know is if today Senator Nyanza would have been given the option to be the leader of minority, would gladly take it up. Now, as long as it's still with my good friend Senator Sifuna as the SG and Madzayo and Olekina, there is always rankles. So it speaks to the concerns. Mother Karua is saying it's no longer tenable for us to be in Azimio. And therefore, at my NDC, will be pushing for an official exit. Azimio will still be there in paper, but in practical and politically speaking, it is no more. And it's true, they had more than, my colleague says, there are more than 22 political parties. If one exits, of course, it doesn't mean that the rest must exit. They still be there. But the conversation that is active now is, of course, Azimio is no more. The exit of Baba fully. For instance, if he was to formally say today that I'm forming a coalition with Kenya Kwanza, with President William Ruto within the broad-based government.
That's why I asked you, Manzo, earlier, whether the bromance between these two gentlemen in politics is something that can be underestimated and just taken for granted.
One thing I can assure you, right now,
something is happening.
Right now, one thing I can assure you is that Raila Odinga is a very smart politician. And that's why he's a political party. If you see at ODM, not everybody in ODM has agreed that he's in government. They have actually all said we are not in government. All that we have done is to assist Kenya Kwanza when it was failing, and we have assisted them. But they insist they are not in government. And also, at times they vote with the government, and when they don't vote with the government, it can't win any motion. So meaning that the current Kenya Kwanza government is at the mercy of Raila Odinga. And I told you, Ruto's government now is hanging on Raila's lips. If Raila today says he beats Ruto, that will happen.
Then what do you think? First of all, do we have an opposition, and what's the impact? Just looking at what is happening on both sides.
Do we have an opposition? Yeah. You know, I started by saying what Parliament did with the State of the Nation. And who are they representing? Can we rely on them for oversight? No, we can't. Whether it's now, if ODM is voting with Kenya Kwanza, what opposition do we have? One that raises objection just to be noted. So the president is running both the executive and Parliament. Then the bromance is to distract us from fundamental things that have been raised here today. From abductions of Kenyans and foreign people with no accountability. Debt. We have increased our borrowing because we couldn't meet our revenue target. Yet the Auditor General yesterday has told us that, look, we don't do feasibility studies. The same way we didn't do it in Adani. Half of our borrowing is knee-jerk. You know, even a mama mboga or a woman who is running their household, nikisha andikisha pale kwa duka for a certain period, I must pause and reflect. This government is not doing that. They are just creating whatever you people are calling bromance to distract us as citizens. So this is not helping us in any way at all. The higher education models, the task force and government get views, they decide, no, we must raise money. Is everything in this country politics of money, not politics of changing people's lives? And I think we need to tell our political class, pause. We know for you it's just about whether you will be re-elected or not. But for Kenyans, we need to live a life of dignity, and we are in pain. We are introducing new tax measures. Why? At least, let me laud the Senate. Yesterday, they stopped the Harambee bill that had been introduced by Senator Aaron Cherargei.
At least for once.
For seeing
say it properly.
For what it is. At least that is a step in the right direction, because for us Kenyans to change the trajectory of both politics, we must fundraise for the leaders we believe in. And government is still offering money in Harambees unregulated. When we sit down and decide, let's fundraise 200 per Kenyan so that we change a few things, we are being distracted. So Senate, please stay there. Just like I have said, I'll go back to church. I may consider reading answered records. So those are some of the issues. And I hope I feel like we are being distracted when there is such a huge governance mess. SHA. Our children, where will they go to school in January? That is not being debated as people are being mobilized with the transport for that particular day. The political class is distracting us from fundamental issues, and we must whip them back to order. Yes.
Senator Manzo, you say you are the opposition. How come we're not hearing that strong voice of the opposition talking about these pertinent issues affecting Kenyans? Some have raised concern about politics overshadowing the issues that really Kenyans want to hear. Where is the opposition? Do we have an opposition, Senator Manzo?
We do have an opposition. In both houses, we have members of the National Assembly from the remaining Azimio opposing the government. And as I told you, when Senator Sifuna rose to his feet, he opposed the speech of the president. And I did oppose too. And there are quite a number of, and pointed out the issues affecting Kenyans. We have seen the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, the party leader of Wiper, going to court on the Andani deal. And there are tangible results. At least there is an injunction now that the Adani deals cannot proceed again, or Adani cannot be substituted with another person and procedurally. That matter now of the airport has to be dealt with by the court and guided by the court. And now I'm sure the government will not interfere till the matter is concluded. So we are doing quite a number of things to make sure that the government is in check. I keep the government on check throughout. Even if only one person remains talking and checking the government, that is still opposition.
First you said Azimio is intact, and then you said the remaining Azimio. I don't know what you will say next time we host you here. But
because one leg of ODM is in government and the other leg is on opposition. One time ODM opposes government, the other time ODM supports government.
Yes, let me say this. It's true that we have an opposition. And actually, a democracy that doesn't have an opposition is not a good democracy. We need an opposition that will keep the government of the day in check. And having presence of colleagues in parliament who are always going to be there to keep checks on the government is very, very important. Similarly, the civil society, Diana and the rest of goodwill Kenyans who objectively criticize the government is definitely a very critical part of our democracy. And as a matter of fact, yes, I also still confirm that we do have. And as people's representatives, by the way, in Parliament, whether in the National Assembly or the Senate, it is really not that members of Parliament, as Diana is attempting to put it, although I want to appreciate, acknowledging, appreciate where it is and criticize where necessary. We welcome such criticisms because it helps us also to do the right thing. We have members of Parliament and members of the National Assembly as well as members of the Senate who speak because we speak to represent our people. We speak the voice of the people who have asked us to do it. The most unfortunate thing, and this is one of the things the president actually said, and we call upon the rest of us, particularly those who are very objective in their representation. Whenever there is an issue that needs to be criticized in the government, nothing stops me as a senator for Bomet County from saying that the government is not on the right path on this particular aspect. What unfortunately happens is that whenever information does not get to the people in good time, as right as it should be, then Kenyans tend to have a feeling of exclusion in governance merely because they have not gotten the right information or they are misinformed. And that is where now we call upon the leadership and say, look, let us speak to the people on issues, the object that sends me to speak on behalf of the people of Bomet, to check the governance, to check the governor of Bomet, to say when he's stealing that he has stolen, to say when he's failing that he has failed, is not politics. To say that the national government is wrong on this particular policy when it is indeed wrong, in my opinion, is not talking against the government that I support. It is giving a very objective view of an issue. For instance, in this SHA, the health sector hasn't been in good state for the longest. We are not yet out of the hoods with the reform agenda that is in, from transforming from NHIF to SHA and SHIFT. It's not been a walk in the park. There is a lot of bottlenecks. But the ultimate message that should go to Kenyans is the goodwill in terms of its affordability, in terms of the need for Kenyans to register. Me and Senator Manzo are paying over 30,000 to the scheme.
32.
We are paying 32,000 Kenya shillings. Now, there is a form that Kenyans are required to fill so that they can be placed in the category that is within their reach. And when we don't tell Kenyans, because I was doing this the other day when I was in Sote constituency in Kaplong, a Kenyan is asked to fill a questionnaire comprising of around 20 questions. That questionnaire asks you some personal questions, which if you are not honest, you will place yourself in a band that you will pay more than if you became honest. That information about registration, about answering the questions in that questionnaire will only get to Kenyans when they have appreciated the fact that they need to register. One of the questions the president was asking the people of Kericho on Sunday when he was in church was, he asked them, how many of you have registered for SHA? Weka mkono juu. A number of them, of course, had not registered.
But how do you register if you've not been given that? There's no justification. You hear stories. You've also personally maybe experienced challenges while going to access the. How do you register? How do you convince a Kenyan to register when they are clearly saying this is not working?
Listen here. You can only experience challenges if you have registered and when you want to be served, when you want to gain the service out of that system. As long as you have not, you definitely cannot. Right. Now we'll be talking just like the rest of the Kenyans who are saying this SHA is a failed thing, when they have not tried. I've said there are bottlenecks to its implementation, just like any other new policy introduced by every government. But otherwise, we're seeking to eliminate fraud, we're seeking to eliminate corruption. It's going to be affordable and accessible for every Kenyan. And I watched the news, the doctors were saying, we in the next 7, 14 or 21 days going to issue a strike notice. Part of the challenges that we have is when we don't have a health sector that is motivating the workforce, they definitely will go on strike.
All right.
We have the same problem across our counties. Bomet, the other day we've been fighting with the governor for failed leadership in our health facilities. Longisa referral has completely failed. Right. Yesterday, we also had an incident in one of the hospitals in Konoin called Cheptalal Health Center. We lost a patient because of a failed ambulance. Apparently, we are not yet getting information as to whether it was because of a failed battery or it didn't have fuel. And we ended up losing a mother
patient,
who's gone, leaving behind a young girl with no mother.
All right.
And it's because of the negligence of administration. So those are the things that whenever we speak, including now when the president speaks about these reforms in the health sector, we over-politicize, then it overshadows the goodwill that the government is trying to bring on board.
All right, that's a matter that we need to probe. Allow me to just sample feedback, then we can.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Diana, your body language is quite telling, but let me sample, feedback from what our viewers have been saying, and then I'll give you a round of closing remarks so that you can also weigh in on what is emerging. And we have Babu Owino KE, who is saying, as President Ruto banks on Luo Nyanza and larger Raila support base, he must also know that his track record is known to Kenyans right now. As we said, Wakenya sio wajinga in 2022. He should know those same Kenyans are the ones who are, all right, that went very fast. Okay, so the second one is
the ones who will vote in 2020.
Babu Michael KE. He says, a rousing welcome Ruto receive in Kondele is part of our revolutionary politics in the recent years. This is a very good lesson to young politicians. Politics is dynamic. Honorable Mandago once said, usiweke politics kwa roho, weka kwa lungs. We have Bobo Tieno Wino, from late former President Mzee Moi and now President William Ruto. We've witnessed a rousing welcome of former presidents mpaka tumezoea with no fruitful results. Tony Olo, I wonder why some quarters of Kenya believe that Luos, Kisumu, should always be in the opposition for us to have a country running. We like any other Kenyans deserve to be in government too. We have Sir Nixon Dugire. It's said that whoever is careless with the truth in small matters cannot be trusted with important matters. James Kimutai, you say Senator Sigei anapigia kampeni serikali yake ilhali kaunti yake Bomet mali ya umma inatumika vibaya, hospitali wagonjwa wanakufa, yeye kama senator amefeli kabisa. Athanas Mavuti, you're saying Senator Maanzo is not factual. Honorable Raila didn't meet foreign affairs ministers in Ivory Coast. He met the president. In Senegal, he met the president. In Ghana, he met the president. It's good to be factual and objective. Sam Masika, Sigei, we agree the airport has to be constructed. However, processes and procedures have to be followed. It cannot be done by a crook and through bribery. It has to capture the wishes and desires of many Kenyans. All right. Thank you for taking time to share your thoughts, and I'd like my panelists here to respond to whatever touches on them. Senators, you've been criticized by some viewers there, so you can weigh in on that as we close. Let me start with you, Senator Maanzo.
Yes, let me say that it is true Raila Odinga has quite a number of presidents in West Africa who are his personal friends, and those one who definitely welcome him. But there are also many other parts of West Africa. There are many other parts he has traveled to, and he meets delegations, which is also good enough. But the whole point I was trying to make is that President Ruto should be seen leading this personally, because president to president, it works faster and better. It's a matter of protocol, and that's why I was saying, if they are serious with this, let's see during our Jamhuri Day, 12th of December, 35 presidents here in Kenya coming to say we support Raila Odinga. That will work. And yes, and I also,
is the number.
Yes, and I want to say that I've seen the response about my colleague Senator Sigei, and I want to tell the people of Bomet that if there is a serious senator in Kenya, it's Senator Sigei. He has done very well in the House. He has brought law which is very balanced. Right. He is, although when whipped by President Ruto, he's obedient. He has helped correct a lot of wrongs in government.
Allow him to say that for himself.
So sometimes it's good to be praised by others, but not yourself.
Let him say that by
I'm just saying, I'm being very honest.
Right.
And I don't do this for many people. I really want to tell the people of Bomet that their senator has done well. I'm sure he's going to take the feedback and do more to make the people's lives better.
Well said. Diana, your parting shot.
Social Health Authority, Social Health Insurance Fund has regressed the right to highest attainable standards of health. The question is, why is such a groundbreaking process lacking in a transition plan, a proper transition plan? Why are we just moving people? In the process, people are dying. This is one thing where I will say, like how people told Pontius Pilate, this one we will not forgive you. People cannot be going through misery and people are chest thumping that this is a good thing. Take it up. It is faulty. It is faulty. Please, let us just rethink and see how we rework it.
All right. Sigei?
When we passed the 4 very important legislations in September last year in order to reform the health sector, it was to support a number of concerns, including the challenges that Diana here is raising, that it's a failed. Let's not condemn it. It's still work in progress. It's working for now for those who have registered. And back to Senator Nyanza, I want to appreciate his comments about the work I've done. And it's true that I've seen the comment by Kim Tai. Leadership of Governor Barchok in Bomet he has failed, corrupt, and I would call it the worst leadership that we have ever had. And instead of appreciating criticisms and accepting the fact that he's lost it, he's gone out of his way to have goons all over his back in order to make sure that people don't get to criticize. But we will continue to do it. We will do the right thing for the people of Bomet. The health sector, which is what we've just concluded in talking, in Bomet is in tatters. We've lost 2 people as of now. Instead of speaking about
I'm going to have to cut you short.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Senator Nyanza.
Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady, for creating time this morning as you were looking at the state of the nation. I've been having a sit down with Senator Dan Manzo, the Senator for Makueni County, Senator Hilary Sigei, Senator for Bomet County, and Diana Gishengo, Executive Director TISA. We were looking at the state of the nation. We will be crossing over to the What's Cooking segment in just a bit, as it is Thanksgiving in the U.S. And of course, we know that we have a representation at the U.S. Embassy in Kenya. I'll be cooking today with the Charge d'Affaires, Mark Dillard, who is now acting as the one in charge of the U.S. Embassy right here in Kenya on the other side of the studio. Do stay for that and much more.